Welcome, late night listeners, to this explainer. I'm going to be your guide, well, maybe your keeper tonight, as we dive into a truly chilling tale of gray foam and maritime terror. We're exploring a fascinating study of Victorian industrial dread through a deeply unsettling narrative called The Lighthouse Siren, a Victorian ghost story in 4 acts. If you're into folklore, history, and a genuinely spine-tingling scare, you are absolutely in the right place.
Okay, let's just look at this very first logbook entry because it sets the scene perfectly. We start with pure arrogant hubris. Notice how grounded the whole thing is. The story doesn't open with some phantom creeping in the dark. No, we start with the clinking of grass and the heavy, greasy smell of whale oil. It's such a tangible mechanical environment, and honestly, that makes the supernatural intrusion, marked by that terrifying first note of her song, just so much worse.
Act 1, The Sin of Certainty. So here we have the Victorian ideal. The lighthouse keeper is this ultimate man of science and iron. He's standing literally at the edge of the world, completely convinced that his needle of stone has domesticated the wild, ancient Atlantic. He's out there polishing his Fresnel lens, thinking, this piercing light is my shield. But the dramatic irony here is absolutely wild. What the keeper thought was impenetrable protection, the watching spirit in the surf saw it as an arrogant provocation. To this ancient entity, the lighthouse isn't saving ships at all. It's a flare fired directly into the abyss. It's an invitation sent across borders she just doesn't recognize.
Act 2, The Dinner Bell.
So the fog rolls in, and those big industrial tools completely betray the keeper. The barrier between the safety of the iron lantern room and the primordial ocean outside just dissolves. I mean, imagine the absolute terror of this entity climbing up the gallery outside the glass to begin her conduction. The text describes her with skin like a drowned moon and hair like wet kelp. That just perfectly captures the freezing, rotten cold of this maritime predator. This isn't some delicate floating spirit. This is a massive physical manifestation of the ocean itself, coming to collect what it believes it is owed.
And this brings up a brilliant shift in the folklore. If you know Celtic lore, you probably know the traditional Bean Seathe, or the Banshee. Usually, she's an intimate, hearthbound spirit tied to a specific family bloodline, right? She weeps and mourns for a single soul. But notice how that familiar household spirit is completely twisted here. This maritime entity doesn't weep by a warm fire. She's a primal predatory force tied straight to the abyss, and she is celebrating the hunger of the tides.
And here's the kicker. She is not alone. She commands the Sluach. That's the restless, salt-heavy host of the unforgiven dead, staring back with these horrible silver eyes. The Victorian subversion here is just brilliant. Every single sweep of that powerful lantern, it isn't saving ships in the fog. It's actively illuminating the horrors of the ancient night, revealing a sea completely teeming with the hungry dead. But it gets worse, because the deep has its own ecosystem. Consider the Marrow, these legendary soul-stealing maritime monsters that thrive in this grim, dark coastal landscape. To creatures like the Marrow and our siren, human industrial expansion isn't progress. No, it's just fresh deliveries. They literally view human arrogance and all those poor sailors navigating the waters as nothing more than inventory for the deep.
Which leads us to the ultimate, terrifying subversion. The artificial sun becomes a dinner bell. All that brass and whale oil, the absolute pinnacle of 19th century engineering, meant to push back the dark? It failed. The mechanical rhythm of the light just ended up matching the predatory heartbeat of the tide, basically giving the dead a glowing target. It's a massive, ironic backfire of using industrial tools against ancient maritime predators.
Act 3, The Island of Bone.
So this all builds into a total psychological shattering. It's a lot like the historical lighthouse fever that actually broke real-life keepers out there on the edge of the world. The lighthouse transforms from a marvel of engineering into something entirely horrific. 7 days, that is exactly how long this harrowing mental siege lasted. It wasn't a physical break-in. For a full week, the keeper is trapped, watching this spirit and a massive choir of shadows pressing their faces right up against the glass, their silent mouths mimicking her song while the storm rages outside.
But the true horror isn't even the ghosts on the glass. It's the grim mass the spirit forces the keeper to understand. The story calls it the horror of witnessing and the grim geometry of the coast. The keeper is locked in his high-tech tower, finally realizing just how utterly powerless he is, despite all his modern technology.
Let's look at that grim math. 1,000. For every single soul this mighty beacon actually manages to save from the rocks, it violently illuminates 1,000 more of the slug left waiting in the absolute dark. The light just reveals the sheer, overwhelming scale of the sea's victims, making any human attempt at salvation look completely pathetic. So the lighthouse is no sanctuary. It's become a monument of bone. Instead of a beacon of hope shining outward, the tower acts like a massive anchor. Its heavy stone and piercing light are actively dragging the weight of the abyss and all of its nightmares right up into the living world. The Keeper isn't pushing back the dark at all. He's reeling it in. If we follow this timeline, you can see the step-by-step breakdown of a man who thought he could tame the sea. Day 1, it's just routine hubris, polishing the lens. By day 3, the fog and the entity arrive. By day 7, the total isolation and the sheer horror of the slug break his mind completely. And day 8, surrender. It perfectly maps the trajectory of maritime-induced lighthouse fever.
Act 4. The Silent Master. Now, this might be the most powerful realization in the whole explainer. It embodies the chilling truth that the ocean views human progress as a direct insult. The text calls the sea a jealous god that never allows a gift to go unreturned. Every piece of iron we lay down, every lens we craft, every single ship we save, it demands a toll. Nature absolutely will not tolerate our arrogant attempts to domesticate it.
So the Keeper fled. He left totally broken, just a witness to his own defeat. And what he leaves behind is a relic that no longer represents Victorian progress. The spirit goes back to the gray foam, and the lighthouse is left hollowed out, its entire purpose inverted. It is now a permanent reminder of nature's indifferent dominance. It's a monument to the true master waiting right below the waves.
And here is the haunting takeaway from all of this. The dark is not absent, it is merely patient. We haven't actually conquered the night with our electricity and our grand towers. We've only managed to briefly distract ourselves from it. The abyss, the Sluav, the Murrow, they are perfectly content to just wait us out.
So, I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought tonight. When your artificial sun burns out, who is waiting in the dark? The next time you flip a switch to push back the shadows, I dare you to look at your own modern lights and wonder exactly what ancient, salt-heavy things are out there, watching from borders we pretend don't exist. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and sleep well.